The next speaker on stage is Nithya Shanti. Nithya Shanti graduated from XLRI and set out on the route, like many of us, a corporate career with a technology company. But a few years into that career, he felt this strong call to connect with the internet and to nurture his spirit. And so he left his corporate career to become a monk in a monastery, a Buddhist monk, and for 6 years, he was an ordained Buddhist monk. And as he continued his practice, he realized that the place where he can actually bring his work to fruition is not in the monastery, but back in the outer world. So he took his practice from the monastery and has gone on to become a coach for people around the world, especially in corporations, in finding the true joy that lives within us. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Nithya Shanti.
So it's a joy to be here with all of you, and my intention is to make this an experiential session, have a short time, and however, it takes no time to be timeless. And we can all access the true happiness. When I was 8 years old, I got questioning, what's the purpose of my life? And it's interesting, I got the answer very quickly. I asked the question, and I was quiet. It's quite interesting when you ask a question and just get quiet. You start finding deeper answers. So the answer that came to me is, I want to be happy. And the next answer which came is, I want to share what it means to be happy. I want to inspire other people to also be happy. So that started a quest, consciously and unconsciously, reading books. I started shifting from the novels I used to read, the famous fives, to more autobiographical novels, books, and self-help books. My father was a management consultant. We had a lot of interesting books at home. And that began a journey of asking myself, what is true happiness? And I read a lot. I think for my age, I'd read a lot of different philosophies, different teachers. And I felt I knew a lot, but there was a big gap between what I thought I knew and what I was actually living. And nobody was more painfully aware of that gap than me myself. That I knew so much, and often we come for conferences like this and we get such powerful ideas. I'm grateful to Gopi for sharing some of the main ideas I wanted to share. I mean, we know these things. But this gap, I knew all of these things, I wasn't able to live it. It wasn't coming into my life. And the only explanation I could find is, something's wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I know it, but I'm not doing it. And when I was 16 years old, my mother took me for a meditation course. She actually didn't even tell me it's a meditation course. She said, just come with me. We'll be living in silence for a few days. So I went along. And what they taught us there is how to be present. And what I really learned was how much I'm not present. And it suddenly made sense to me that the reason I'm not living all that I know is there's a lack of presence. It's like the plane is flying all over the place, it's got no place to land. So how can our wisdom, how can our knowledge land if you're not living here now? So I want to call this the power of pause. And I believe this is the most important transformational tool on the planet. And Gopi talked about career spiritualists or professional meditators. I guess I could define myself as a professional meditator. I once sat down just out of curiosity and calculated, practiced about 22,000 hours of meditation since I was 16 years old. I don't know if that's accurate, approximately. And the mind still wanders. The mind still wanders. But what one understands is that the mind's job is to wander. Like the ocean will always have waves. You won't find any part of the ocean anywhere in the world that's got sometimes small waves, sometimes big waves. But what you really realize is that you're not the mind. So I want to talk about how we can take steps in this journey from the internet to the internet. I thought I'd actually come up with that phrase until I realized other people have as well. Moving from the internet to the internet. What's the technology of doing that? How do we actually do that? How do we Google the internet? Let's begin with taking 3 grateful breaths. Like I said, this is an experiential session. 3 different things you're grateful for. First, deep breath. Out through the mouth. One more. Let's take one last one. We can start our day with 3 grateful breaths. We can fill our day with 3 grateful breaths. Just immediately brings us back to our center. And if I give you a piece of paper, you all have a piece of paper, and I say, write down all the things that you can see in this room, most of us will very accurately write down most of the things we see in the room, the lights and the wall and the tablecloth and the people. But many of us will miss the biggest thing in the room, which is the space in the room, right? And you know what? 500 years from now, this building may not be here, but the space will still be here. So we are so focused on the content of our experience, we miss the background, the consciousness, the context. And so I just do a small little experiment now. Just let your eyes wander around the room and notice what you're seeing. Don't label it, just notice what are you seeing. And now also notice the space within which all of this is there. So notice the space as well. And if you don't mind, close your eyes. And now notice the inner content. Are there thoughts? Are there feelings? Any part of the body is stiff? Just notice it. Just be witnessing it. Don't even try to change it. And also notice the silence within which all this is happening. The spaciousness within which all this is happening. And now all four together, outer objects and the space, inner objects and inner space, all four simultaneously. See what happens. And let's all take a slow deep breath. So we're getting a taste of what it means to pause. And just like Gopi talked about taking a minute of silence every day, what I've learned after years of meditating is it's not the 20 minutes or the hour of meditation in the morning or the 20 minutes or the hour of meditation in the evening. What's really important is short moments of pausing throughout the day. This is what really enables us to bring this into our life. And that short moment could be 1 second, could be 5 seconds, could be a minute, could be longer, doesn't matter. But make it a priority to come back here now. So my intention always was to never finish my slide, but I'll just show you a few more. I was pretending to meditate as a kid. And whatever you pretend, you actually end up doing. Got to be careful what you pretend doing. So ended up becoming a Buddhist monk. Lived in XLRI. You know, I did human resources. I came up with a new meaning for human resources, HR. Helping humans return to their source. Right? And what happens when human research return to their source? They get resourceful. And that resourcefulness comes out into society. So it's about accessing the full human. I lived as a monk. This quote really inspired me by Aristotle. That is, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. What does it mean to have a thought and not accept it? Not just to have many thoughts, but to hold a thought and know it's just a thought. This ability is true education. So can you recognize the handsome monk? My name is Jnanasanti Bhikkhu. I lived in northeast Thailand, trained as a forest monk for about 6 years. In fact, Rajan here was came to visit me. That's how I'm here today, I think. And we lived in a gift economy where it's all about sharing. I never used money for 6 years. In fact, in that previous Arvindyo video about Arafat, when I came back after 6 years of not reading the newspaper, I asked people, what did I miss? And all they could think of was Arafat died. Not too much happens, actually. And so we think a lot happens, right? So I lived like that for about 6 years, and my work now is about spreading happiness. And just want to, I love this quote by Pema Chodron, that you are the sky, and everything else is just the weather. So it's important to be involved in the content of your life, but also learn to come back to the context, the screen on which all this is projected. And there are different ways to do that. There's two simple ways. One is recognize in this conference and throughout your day, you might notice that as you're, like even as you're listening to me, once in a while a thought will come and your mind will wander off a bit. A thought will come, an idea will come, a memory will come, and you'll wander off. You know, I was giving a session once, and in the break, a lady asked me, so Nithya, I think you're hypnotizing us. So I found that very amusing. So I said, ma'am, in the day, do you have thoughts? Do you think during the day? She says, yes, I do. I said, do you sometimes believe your thoughts? She says, yes, I do. I said, you're already hypnotized. Hypnosis is defined as suggestion accepted. So when you accept the suggestions of your mind, you're hypnotized. So two kinds of hypnosis. One is that even as I'm talking, sometimes thoughts come and we wander off. That's like a mini trance. So waking up from that trance first and coming to the present. This is the first level of waking up. But then as we study these things, we realize that there's a deeper trance. And that even in the present moment, which appears to be so real, we add an imaginary aspect. And that imaginary aspect is, it's happening to me. So what I learned in my practice over the years is, it's not happening to me, it's just happening. So waking up from these two trances, one is the trance of thoughts and feelings. Doesn't mean you don't have thoughts and feelings, you just know they're thoughts and feelings, like clouds in the sky. And secondly, even the now is a story. Who would you be without that story? I want to end with, I'm just going to skip through some of the slides I have here. This is something I'm going to be talking about later in the evening, a breakout session, deeper aspects of what it means to transform, and deeper aspects of the pause. And just some recommended reading for all of you. Since it's only 8 minutes I have here, I want to leave you with an 81-day course. The Tao Te Ching is 81 verses from Lao Tzu. I like the translation by Stephen Michel, even though it's not the most academic translation, it's very accessible. And Byron Katie is a wonderful spiritual teacher who woke up spontaneously, and along with her partner, Stephen Michel, has written a commentary on each of these. So I would invite you to read one short verse a day and read one chapter from 1,000 Names from You. You can just photograph this page, perhaps it's easy for you to get that. And one of my teachers wrote a lovely book of stories, and I find we transform best through stories. Who ordered this truckload of dung? And lovely stories you can share with your family and discuss with them. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.